Good evening, traders. This is CloudChartist with your weekly Ichimoku chart wrap-up for the week ending March 4th, 2016. It's March 6th, Sunday night. I'm doing this video a little bit late. I was hoping to catch the end of the Warriors-Lakers game, but it didn't end up turning out the way I wanted it to. So, but I'm still late doing my video. So I just want to let you know that the market is open right now, since it's past 6 o'clock Eastern time. So there is a new candle being formed as I do this video. So make sure that you're looking at the candle from last week, not the new bud of a candle. For instance, in the ES, you see this little red candle being started. We did have a small gap down, so that's what we're looking at. So please disregard the new candles being formed as I go through these charts. So let's start off with the ES. I pointed out last week that there could be resistance here. I posted this chart a few times. Chikou meets cloud resistance at 2004.69. That is where this red line here, which is called the Chikou span, did meet the top of a cloud here, and the Chikou has resistance just like current price action. In fact, it represents current price action. You see that the Chikou is at the same level that the current price action is at right now. It's just being drawn 26 periods into the past, so in this case 26 weeks into the past. So whatever the Chikou is interacting with is from 26 weeks ago. So the top of the cloud 26 weeks ago was at 2004.69. So the Chikou did indeed try to break out of the cloud and then because you see that we had a little wick. The high of the last week's high was 2007.50. It did try to break out of the cloud, and then it got rejected from and pushed back inside the cloud. So that it did indeed prove to be key resistance for the ES. We will see what happens going forward, as we are still dealing with that same level for several weeks until, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, like for the next, into the beginning of April, we're still dealing with this same resistance level that the Chikou is going to need to break out over. As far as what current price is doing, let's zoom in and get a closer look. I'm actually going to remove this drawing. So we see that last week's candle did indeed not only break, it bounced off the Tenkan-sen here, and it moved up through the Kijun-sen, moved up through the bottom of the cloud, moved up through the top of the cloud, and closed above the cloud. So that was a very significant bullish candle, because it not only moved from bearish, everything under the cloud in Ichimoku is bearish, so it moved from bearish through neutral, in this very thin cloud area, to close in the bullish. So ES is now bullish on the weekly time frame, which it hasn't been for many weeks. In fact, it hasn't been bullish since the last time it closed over the cloud, which was back in November of last year. It was neutral, then it dropped below the cloud into bearish territory the first week of 2016. So currently, it's in Ichimoku. This is a little Ichimoku tip for you. It's unusual that we can get such a strong move from under a cloud, through the cloud, and over the cloud, and continue moving higher without some bit of a pullback. So I would not be surprised to see price action pull back and test the top of the cloud, which is currently at 1973.50 right here, sometime this week. Although it is possible that we could continue moving higher as well, but we are gonna again run into that 2004 level where the Chikou hit the top of the cloud as well. If we do move lower below that, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't. That was the top of the cloud is at 1980.56, and the bottom of the cloud is 1973.50. So if we lose that 1980.50 thereabouts level, then we should probably test the 1973 level with the ranges that we've been having lately. That wouldn't be surprising to see that happen in one day. If we do lose the bottom of the cloud level at 73.50, then we can expect potential for a test of the Kijun-sen down below at 1956.38. And if we lose the Kijun-sen, then we could expect a test of the Tenkan-sen once again, which is all the way down at 1905. So keep those levels in mind as we move along. We do see in the character of the cloud is quite thin, so that indicates that we should have some, probably some potential for a tighter price range. That is what the cloud indicates. Then we have a cloud twist coming up, but not until April. But you can see the cloud is getting thinner and thinner, which suggests perhaps some consolidation right here, maybe some flagging action. All right, that's about it and I've been saying the same thing for a while if you watch my videos regularly. Let's move on to, and you might have heard my cat in the background. She's doing some mischievous things in the kitchen, so hopefully she won't break anything. And I know some of you watch this video just to hear my cat break stuff, and I'm hoping it won't happen, but it might. So anyway, let's move along to look at CL. I don't know why I habitually look at CL as the second chart here, but so this is last week's candle, this very big bullish green candle. We see that we tested the Tenkan-sen. Let me zoom in a little bit more. CL is still bearish in Ichimoku terms, still under the cloud, but it is over the Tenkan-sen, so it has been making a little bit of bullish progress. We came down and tested the Tenkan-sen pretty much exactly at, let's see, the low was 32.72. And we bounced off the Tenkan-sen and closed very close to the highs. It's likely, if we continue moving higher for CL, that we could test the Kijun-sen up here at 38.49, and I would expect some potential resistance there. You can see that in the past, when this is just a small example of the recent past, when crude was able to actually make it over the Tenkan-sen, it did come up and test the Kijun-sen before being rejected, and finding support at the Tenkan-sen again and then being rejected. And I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen here, but it's likely if we do move higher that there could be very good chance of price rejection up there at the 38.49 level. Just had to pause the video for a sec there because the cat was about to make a loud noise. You may or may not be able to hear my neighbor's yappy dogs barking outside. Anyway, so if for some reason we do reverse for CL, we can see that we have a lot of other potential levels. We have this important horizontal level like around 35 thereabouts that we could test and potentially find support at. And if we come down even lower, we have some other horizontal levels of support like this 32.77, 32.78 area, and then of course the Tenkan-sen at 31.27. It would be very bearish at this point to go back below the Tenkan-sen at 31.27. All right, let's move on to some other indexes. Let's look at the Dow index, the YM. The Dow blasted through, similar to the ES, blasted through the cloud and is now bullish in Ichimoku terms. You can see the Chigow is unable to make it into the cloud, so until it makes it into the cloud, price action won't be able to move higher. If it does make it into the cloud, it will be facing resistance again at the top of the cloud. So you might not see any resistance over here in this area, but the Chigow will be facing resistance at the top of the cloud here at 17,318. So if we do get a big move higher on the Dow, check out that level for potential resistance. And if we do, I'll be posting this chart later on in the week. For now, if we do get a pullback, we can expect the potential of finding support at the top of the cloud right here, which is at 16,810. So keep an eye on that level on the Dow. Let's look at the Russell. We see the Russell has been much more bearish than the Dow and the ES, but it kind of led with a very big move last week after making it about over the Tenkan-sen. Not only did it blast over the Tenkan-sen, but it put in a close over the Kijun-sen. So the Russell is still bearish in Ichimoku terms, but has been making good bullish progress for the last 3 weeks. And I guess it's there's some horizontal resistance support, potential support turned resistance levels, potential resistance levels. Sorry, I'm having trouble talking right now. At around 1100, 1105 area, then a little bit above that around 1111. And we can definitely expect resistance up here at the cloud at 1165.40. This is a area that we could expect the potential to break through the cloud. The cloud is very thin here, and there is a cloud twist coming up on April 4th. That's the same cloud twist time that is on the other charts that we've looked at so far. Let's look at the Nasdaq. Nasdaq was a bit crazy last week, surprisingly weak at times during the week. We see that last week the Nasdaq came down and tested the bottom of the cloud after putting in a close right in the middle of the cloud, after testing the top of the cloud 2 weeks ago. Last week it spanned the whole cloud, tested the bottom of the cloud, and put in a bounce over the Tenkan-sen, over the Kijun-sen, and closed above the cloud. So we can expect, if we do get a pullback, which it looks like we may, we can expect a test of the Kijun-sen at 4,300.88. That would be a buy point as far as I'm concerned. It's basically confluent with the top of the cloud. The top of the cloud is 42.97, so yeah, 3-point difference thereabouts. But that 4,300 area looks like potential buy zone for the Nasdaq going forward. If we can't hold that level, then we do have support all the way through the cloud down to the bottom of the cloud at 41.85. Let's see. Let's look at Nasdaq. Okay, that's all the indexes. Let's look at gold. Very interesting here with gold. We see that gold has been made a power move over. You know, gold is sort of an example of what I was trying to explain earlier with the ES. A good example of what happens when you make a very strong move through the cloud. You need to pull back. So gold did what the other indexes are doing a few weeks ago. So gold made this huge move, very strong move through the cloud, and then came down and retested almost the top of the cloud here, and it has been flagging. And last week put in another bullish candle higher, possibly having to do with the Brexit news, general dollar weakness from time to time. But we do see that gold is at an interesting point here as the Chikou is attempting to break out over the cloud. The cloud is at 1261.50. The Chikou current price is at 1263.20. So we do see that there is a potential for the cloud to hold the Chikou, like we could potentially not sustain this move over the cloud. If that's the case, the cloud is moving significantly lower over the next few weeks. So, like, in fact, next week, the cloud top is going to be down here at 1238.30. So keep that in mind if you're bullish on gold and you think it's going to continue to move higher. If it cannot put in, you know, if it can't hold over this level, then the chances are that it could go back down more towards the top of the cloud at 1238.60 for next week. Otherwise, it looks quite bullish, although it's a bit extended. If you look at the RSI, you see it's pretty close to the redlining on the RSI here. So far this evening, though, the new candle's looking pretty good, holding above last week's close. Last week's topping tail, however, suggests that there were plenty of sellers in this whole area, all the way up to the highs of 1280. Let's look at silver. Silver much less bullish than gold. In fact, it's still in neutral territory. It's still inside the cloud. Did put in a bullish, very bullish candle last week, and the fact that it managed to close inside the cloud means that the general bias on the weekly time frame went from bearish to neutral. So that's progress for silver anyway. We do have a flat Kijun-sen and a flat Tenkan-sen below. Price action is frequently attracted towards flats in Ichimoku. We also have the Chikou over here coming into potential resistance up here at the Kijun-sen at around 1584 thereabouts, which is obviously, you can see, has been resistance in the past. Resistance here, turn support, resistance here, and resistance here on last week's candle. So until the Chikou can get over the Kijun-sen, that's going to continue to act as resistance. Just like the Chikou can find resistance above, it can find support below, and so the Chikou could come down, and if silver sells off quite a bit, can find support maybe at the top of this candle. I think it's sort of unlikely that it would happen, but that could be the case. But it would probably, there's significant support before we get to that point. There's support at the bottom of the cloud here at 1537 thereabouts, and also at the Kijun-sen down here at 1499. That 15 level has been well supported, silver. All right, let's look at some bonds. ZB, the 30-year Treasury bond, put in an important hold of the Tenkan-sen here, and this is actually a really nice buy setup, but currently, because the new candle is unable to hold the Tenkan-sen, the buy setup is being negated on the weekly time frame. So it's possible that price action could come down and test the Kijun-sen here at 161.03 if it can't make it back over the 162.29 level. The Bund looks like a big head and shoulders pattern to me. Maybe I've been looking at the hourly on the Bund. Let's see what we got going on here. CB is not so much. It doesn't look so ugly as the Bund. Interesting, has been tracking the Bund as well. All right. Oops. Let's look at the 10-year. You see I have drawn these fibs. These are swing fibs from the swing low of the end of November to the swing high of February 8th, because I found important confluence at this 129.050 level. I thought it was important, if you wanted to be bullish for ZN, that level was held. And just looking over at my trading screen here, as I was trading ZN quite a bit last week, I see that we did open up and try to make a move above 129.065, and we are indeed selling at the moment. So it's not very bullish at all for us to be losing this 050 level. I would be nervous to be long ZN currently, given these conditions. Loss of the 50% fib here, and also loss of the Kijun-sen at 129.050. There's not a lot of support below on the weekly time frame, although we do have this prior horizontal support level here. We can maybe cross our fingers for at, let's see, 129.0 128.30 thereabouts, I'm going to call it. Yeah, 128.30. So, and we have the wick of this prior candle, of last week's candle, also at around 128.30, also 128.295. If you want to be bullish the 10-year, you don't want to see those levels lost. It's really important if you want to be bullish the 10-year that we regain the 050 level ASAP. We can go down to we can go down some shorter time frames. This is the daily chart. We do see that Chikou is coming into support at the top of the candles here, so that could offer a little bit of help. We do have a rising cloud, so that's not entirely bearish. But we do also have quite a ways to fall until the next important daily support level, which obviously you can see that we have significant horizontal support at this 128.080 level here. That's quite a ways down from here as well. That's also where we will be finding cloud support into the middle of the week. So we could sell off down to that level and potentially find some cloud support on the daily and maybe continue higher. All right, I'm not going to go through every time frame with the yen. I just wanted to do a little extra there. Let's look at the Nikkei. Nikkei has been pretty important. Since I happen to be on the daily, you can see that the Nikkei is running into the daily cloud here, which is possibly why the upward momentum is stalling. I just thought I'd have you keep an eye on that. Bear with me for 1 sec. All right. Sorry, I'm just looking at my trading screen. Sorry. Let's look at the weekly. Last week's candle on the Nikkei was able to make it a close over the Tenkan-sen, but it's still bearish in Ichimoku terms, as it has not managed to get back inside the cloud, back into neutral territory. The Chikou is in neutral territory, so that's something to be aware of. If we do move higher on the Nikkei, we do have resistance up here at the Kijun-sen at 17,438. If we move lower, we're going to have support at the Tenkan-sen at 16,378, which is also prior resistance for these last two candles as well. So that seems to be a significant level. So keep an eye on that 16,378 level if we do get a pullback on the Nikkei. Let's look at the dollar. Dollar's just been flagging along sideways. Last week's candle put in a reversal to the downside, but let me get even closer so you can see. It started to move higher and then put in a reversal down to the downside, lost the Tenkan-sen here, but did close at approximately right on or slightly above the Kijun-sen, so that's significant. We have a very tight range ahead of us this coming week between the Tenkan-sen at 97,615 and the Kijun-sen at 97,215. So it wouldn't surprise me for price action to sort of stay in this general vicinity, this sort of general range trade. If we do lose support of the Kijun-sen, then we could come down, potentially test the cloud. And if we do move higher above the 97,615 level for the DX, then we could potentially test these this other 98.16 area, prior resistance area. Let's look at some live cattle. Live cattle last week did put in a bullish break of this triangle that we've been looking at, and or 2 weeks ago I should say, and then reversed, was unable to move higher, but did put in a bullish hammer type candle. It is still an inside candle from the prior week's bullish candle, so we'll see what happens. The trend is still up. If we are unable to move higher above this area, then we could come back down and test the Kijun-sen at 133.35 on live cattle. Not sure if it's worth going over the grains or not. Let's look at corn. Corn looks boring, chopping around in the range. You can see that it's now under the Tenkan-sen. Let's look at wheat. Wheat was tried to put in a bounce, but was unable to get over a Tenkan-sen. This is actually a very nice short setup at 465.38 to short wheat. As long as it stays under that Tenkan-sen, it should continue lower. I call this setup the Tenkan Smackdown. This looks like a very nice example thereof. Let's look at soybeans. Chopping sideways in bearish configuration. Potential resistance at 882 above. Potential support at 871. Let's look at oats. Ooh, oats not looking very good, but potential reversal candle to the upside with this long bottoming tail. This is just basic candlestick analysis, by the way. We are oversold for the first time in a while on the RSI, where we did hit our oversold. So this actually looks pretty good for a bounce to the upside, potentially to possibly the 195.38 Tenkan-sen, where a price action will probably be rejected there. Let's look at Natty for fun of it. Natty just looks terrible, doesn't it? Lower and lower for nat gas. This is fully bearish. We're not even oversold at this point. That does look like a potential reversal candle from last week, but it looked like one from the week before. So the Tenkan-sen is still pointing downwards, although the Kijun-sen is flat. I wouldn't expect a reversal to the upside until we see the Tenkan-sen flatten out really for Natty. And I think I will wrap it up at this point. Trying not to keep this make this video too long. I really appreciate you watching my video. If you want to give me a thumbs up if you like it, or a thumbs down if you don't like it, that would be helpful for YouTube eventually giving me some better bandwidth, apparently. If you don't like it, if you have some problem with my free video, I would love it to hear some criticism. Just leave me a comment to go along with your thumbs down. Just don't be passive aggressive. And I wish everybody good luck trading this week. If you have any more questions, feel free to hit me up, or any questions I should say, feel free to hit me up either in the YouTube comments. You can hit me up on Twitter at CloudChartist. You can send me an email, cloudchartist@gmail.com. If you're interested in learning more about Ichimoku charting and trading futures live, I do have a chat room where we trade futures live every day from 8 to 4:30 thereabouts, using Ichimoku charts. It's pretty fun in there. You can learn more about that by looking at my website at cloudchartist.com. Thanks. Have a good night and good luck trading this week.